Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Anti-Poachers Day 3 preview. You'll notice two things, perhaps, if you follow us. The first is that there was no Day 2 preview. Partly that was because James and I were both at York on Day 1, thereby taking up some of our time, and we decided not to do a recording in the car park. And the second reason is with Day 2, yet to go. I'm recording this at the beginning of Day 2 at 10 in the morning. It didn't really appeal to us as a betting medium. 4 on the Oaks, might be 3 if the ground quickens and David Amara pulls Estrange. So that wasn't a betting medium, nor did the Lau particularly stick out to us as something we wanted to discuss. So on to Day 3, without James, who, as far as I know, is still at York, continuing his big day of Day 1. Now he's off for a couple of days, so just me on this one. I'm going to look at the 3 group races for Day 3, which is tomorrow at the time of recording. We're going to get through the first one pretty quickly. The Lonsdale Cup, pretty uninteresting betting medium, in my opinion. Spend a bit more time on the Gimcrack, which I'm quite excited about. Not from a purist perspective, because I think it's an absolutely dreadful race, but it's got the dead 8, and if those hold, I think there's really some interesting angles there. And then I'll go very quickly through, of course, the massive horse field of the Nunthorpe Stakes, 17 strong. Quite interesting, giving, as it were, a sort of attractiveness rating, in my view, for each horse in the field. Though bearing in mind the caveat of draw, but I'll come to that in a minute. So on to the Lonsdale Cup, 6 horses, and great to see Trawlerman back, Gold Cup King. Really, really smart stayer, and let's not beat about the bush, he towers over this field. 8 to 13, I think, in my assessment of value, 8.13 is a perfectly fair price, and it probably won't last that long. But I never recommended an each-way bet, an odds-on bet in my life. Had only about one odds-on bet in my life, and never would again. So you won't get me recommending Trawlerman, but look, he's your Gold Cup, your emphatic Gold Cup winner. He towers over these on the ratings. For good measure, he's run at York and he won an Ebor. It's very difficult to beat. And given we got 6 horses, I find it difficult to see where the betting angle is on this race, because I don't really want to go each way, because I can see various candidates vying for second. Very briefly, your favourite to take second place at 6 to 1 is Sweet William. Pretty admirable stayer, almost always turns up, but he's a second, third, fourth kind of merchant at this level. He's run twice well at York, narrow second in an Ebor, and third to Rebels Romance earlier this season over 1/6, which probably wasn't a true staying test. This should suit him better. He could finish second. Do I want to bet him each way in a 6-horse field where there are other candidates for the second spot? No, but he's a possible forecast candidate. Al Kareem, pretty admirable last 4 runs. This guy's in the form of his life. 1-1-2-1. The second was to Illinois. Pretty classy. 3 for 5 at York. His last 2 wins have been at York. He could well run, up to his very best here, in which case he's got a real shout of second. But I cannot get to him beating Trawlerman if Trawlerman turns up. So, yeah, I guess any bet on any horse other than Trawlerman is a bet that Trawlerman won't turn up. And yeah, 6 horses and other candidates for second, as I said. I'm not really into Al Kareem either. A little bit more time for Shackleton, even though one could argue, looking at his form, he's actually got the most to do of any of these to turn it round with Trawlerman. He didn't face Trawlerman, but to get to that level. The couple of things that interest me about Shackleton. One is cheap piece for the first time. Sometimes people think it's a bad sign. He can also eke out more. But there's glimmers in what he's done that suggests he's really quite a good horse and a potential stayer. 4th in the Queen's Vase, but which has, by the way, been pretty well franked. Scandinavia, Karma's further. All these horses have run very well since. And of course, Scandinavia is your pretty much close to even money favourite for the Ledger. But Shackleton led all the way, was pestered all the way. That was not the way to win that race. I think he did pretty well to hang on to force. Derby, check out the Derby, which preceded that. He was sweating and I don't think 12 furlongs. I think it was mature enough for that anyway. Second to Al Riffle, last time out, sounds good, but he's beaten 5 lengths. So I appreciate he's got to take a big step up, but yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he ran very well. Am I going to bet him? No. Leaves only Al Nair, who was the one I'm least interested in. You're getting 18 to 1 on him. Sorry, betting was Al Karim 7s and Shackleton 8s. Al Nair 18s, at least you're getting a generous price, but this horse looked like a really good stayer at the start of 2024 in Meydan, and indeed else later on in 2024. This year, he just hasn't run near that level. Even that level wouldn't see him beat Trawlerman, and anything he's done this year is not going to see him finish second. So he doesn't appeal at all. The only one I might play is one that I think people who follow these videos will know we were keen on for both the Gold Cup and the Goodwood Cups. Sorry, the Ascot Gold Cup and the Goodwood Cup as an each way play. Did the business, although he was thumped, he did come third in the Ascot Gold Cup, Dubai Future, and didn't step up from that. Goodwood Cup was a sort of fairly weak sixth, but he's run 2 monster races this year at the ripe old age of 9 out at Meydan. And okay, maybe it's a case of Meydan form not coming back to the UK because those 2 races put him bang there, not quite at Trawlerman's level, but better than this lot. But he hasn't got back to that. As the Ascot Gold Cup was a pretty good third. He was ahead of the likes of Sweet William, who's 6 to 1 to his 33 to 1 here. I think that's mispriced. I also like the return to flat track and left-handed. If you think sort of, Ascot and Goodwood are very different courses, whereas his Meydan was, left-handed flat. So I will confess, it's not a formal recommendation in a 6-horse field, but I confess to having a few bob each way on the Rag Dubai Future at 33s. Okay, that is the probably least exciting betting race, the Lonsdale Cup. Now let's look at the Gimcrack, the 3 o'clock, 6 furlongs, Group 2. Yeah, just to reiterate what I see earlier, to give it the technical term, this is a piss poor race in terms of quality for the grade and for what it is. If you think of the some of the Gimcrack winners of the past, and then you look through this field and you see it's headed by a favourite at 7 to 4, who's run 5 times and hasn't actually won a race. I gets me shaking my head. Now, I'm not disputing do or do not, who's the favourite, right to be at the head of this market. His form is the best. He's put together a number of really good races. But again, to have, sort of thirds and seconds, suddenly he's a heavy favourite for the Gimcrack. I find it pretty uninspiring. I don't like the drop to 6 furlongs for him. I thought the moving up to 7 was the right move. It was really staying on in the July Stakes at Newmarket with this sort of uphill finish. Now York at 6. The second to go start at 100 to 1, flying late, again catches the eye as a really good piece of form. But again, that's a stiff track. And this is different. So all in all, can do or do not win? Yes. Is he the right favourite? Yes. Would I bet him? Never in a million years. And that's not just because of my aversion, as you're probably aware of by now, to short price favourites. I just think to take 7 to 4 on a horse to win the Great Gimcrack when he hasn't won in 5 attempts at doing so is just a red flag no for me. Now, he can go and win without my money, and he may well do so. The same applies to reciprocated, 72 second favourite. Quite an exciting colt. Ran well on debut, then won again in a novice, which he was giving weight away. Pretty impressive. Then he goes out to a listed race in Ascot, and he's sort of close to last, and he's beaten 10 or 12 lengths. He's 2-3. He pulls. Now, he might settle here. and we might get back to the horse that he looked like, the very exciting horse he was before. But I'm not sure any of the horses in his race two back have done anything at all for the form. So again, I'm going to let this guy win without any of my money on it at 7-2 second favourite. He might be too keen again. I might chuck this one away as well. So yeah, no, arguably got the second best form if you go back two back, certainly according to time form. But no, he's not for me at 7-2. Life Plan is your unexposed play, if you like. He's raced once, he's won once. So for Declan Carroll, it was a win up at Thirsk, and time form says sure to progress in their summary of this horse. Well, he might be sure to progress, but on the form figures, he is the second worst horse in this field, so he has to progress. And he's 92 favourite. That's built in. I know yesterday, for example, in the Acom, we had a once run 1-1 winner of the Acom in Gewan, the Andrew Balding stable, with a lot of powerful things powerful bloodstock at his disposal in his yard. Nothing against Declan Carroll, but this wouldn't be the same sort of scary once won maiden winner. I'm not enamored by his price at 92 either. So there's the first three in the betting I don't like, which basically puts me into the world of each way, because it's an 8-horse field, and that's the purest mathematical way for the each way better for 3 places to bet. And I like a couple here. Not the next one in the betting, actually, although he does interest me. Kevin Ryan, Rock on Thunder, who won a debut on maiden, only 9th to Gestart in the commentary. But he was second to Wise Approach over stepped over 6 furlongs last time out. Now, Wise Approach, by the way, was the odds-on favourite for this race, perhaps scaring a lot of horses away, which explains why it's so weak. But then Appleby, and he'd looked like a monster on his last win, but Appleby then said he's going to the morning, so he was withdrawn from this race. So in fact, for the Wise Approach form, he was beaten 4 lengths by Wise Approach. Wise Approach in this field, to me, looks like he might have been a 3 or 4 length winner. So I get Rock on Thunder. He's not the one I like most, but I wouldn't put anyone off him. But if you are going each way, maybe want to wait to check the none are withdrawn. And this is true of all the others, by the way, that I mentioned. Wait till tomorrow morning, make sure none are withdrawn in the day, because 7 horses changes the game. Now to the 2 I like. Egoli. Egoli, some of you may remember some of the Goodwood crews may groan, because we were keen on Egoli. And Egoli could only manage 5th or 6th, I think 6th, at Goodwood. In the Richmond Stakes behind Koppel, but previously he looked really good. He'd won 2 on the trot, good time form figures. Why would one therefore be prepared to forgive a 6 last time out? It's a pretty clear case. It was a 9-horse field, and they split into 2 groups. And guess what? The group that came from stalls 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 ran as a group of 5, and they finished the first 5 places. Egoli was one of the other 4, and he won the race on his side, only good enough for 6th. I'm prepared to throw that out. I think that was a draw bias race, and I think there's every chance that Egoli can get back on upward curve. I think 10-1 is too big. I think that's a smacking each way price. Egoli. The other one, perhaps less so each way, more win play perhaps, although I confess I haven't gotten each way myself. Comical Point, back to Andrew Balding. He was another who flopped last time out, but he set a tearaway place in the July Stakes at Newmarket, in the race with the likes of Maximised and possibly Brussels, another of the Aidan O'Brien sort of talented colts. I'm prepared to forgive him that. He was staying on 5th to Charles Darwin in the Norfolk at Ascot, and he took a big leap forward then while he regressed at Newmarket. I'd be tempted to give him another go. Why am I so forgiving about him, you say, when I don't want Reciprocated, who was too keen early? Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. His price is 72 and 12 to 1. I'd much rather take Comical Point at the latter price. No love for the outsider two from me. Irish fighter Ismail Mohammed, a profitable colt. You're getting 25s, but on the form, none of his four races have delivered a form figure sort of over 100 on the time form scale, and many of these have already run over 100. So don't quite see it. He was ninth in the Coventry, which wasn't disgraceful, but weakened to fifth in the Super Sprint at Newbury. Can't get there. And a Yorkshire Puds. 66 is I'm tempted to have a pound each way on this. I mean, he's got absolutely no chance on what he's done. Two poor races, well, one not disgraceful, third on his debut, one beaten really badly last time out in a much better race. Unless it's the owners group who want a runner, it's the big Mojo, sort of big Evs syndicate, I think. Michael Appleby doesn't really chuck one in a really good race for no reason. There is no form reason to back this horse, but a pound each way I'll have on Yorkshire Puds at 66 to 1. Emphatically no more. Okay, that is us through the two build-up races to the big one. And the big one is the big one in more ways than one. It's the Group 1, it's the Nunthorpe Stakes, 5 furlong sprint, and it's the big one because it's a big field. You've got 17 horses. So pretty much everyone I know is paying 4 places. If you find a bookie who's only paying 3, that's a disgrace. Don't go near it if you're playing each way. And Sky are paying 5, but are shorter on some horses, but not on all. We're just going to go through this quick fire, but before I do, 2 points of important points to make. One is the draw. Last year's Nunthorpe had a clear draw bias. If you were low to middle, you were well drawn. If you were drawn high, you were badly drawn. So Believing, for example, who ended up finished second, it was an absolutely monster run. She was the best horse in that race, and I'm absolutely convinced. But Bradshaw got towed along nicely in the low draw, and Believing had actually very little chance of winning. She ran amazingly well to win. There were 3 sprints yesterday at York, and actually being high was no disadvantage at all, even though there was a bit of a tendency centre more on the far side, the low draw coming up, which is where they ran. But then a couple of runners did come through from wide draws up the centre and staying more stand side. So at the time of speaking, this might be a no draw bias race at all, or in fact a draw against the very low draws, because very low draws didn't do well yesterday in the 3 sprints over the flat track at York. So watch that today, and if a different bias or confirmation of that bias comes through, please do take this into consideration. Because if there is a bias and you're drawn 17 of 17 and they're all coming low today, that's a grim starting point, and vice versa. Okay, so starting at the top, and the degree to which I think the prices represent the value. Lady Iman, JL Lyons, very exciting juvenile. Fillies beaten some very good horses, including the likes of True Love, I believe, and another top juvenile who's escaped me. Power Blue, I think. Figures of 1, 1, 2, 1. She's a 2-year-old. She gets 2 stone from the older colts in this race. It's a massive weight break, and these weights break have been shown by various some great stuff written by Simon Rowlands on ATR about this race and the draw and the history of 2-year-olds. Which comes to the conclusion that it agrees with previous studies that have said that the weight for age that 2-year-olds get is overly generous. So that's why she ends the market. The market doesn't believe the official form figures, which give her quite a lot to find with this. They believe the fact that the weight break is not accurately represented by the form. I don't want any part of her. She's very unattractive to me. Partly she's 4 to 1 in a 17-horse field, and it's a sprint, and all sorts of things happen in sprints as we've seen this season. So partly just 4 to 1. I don't like it in a race like this. But secondly, what has she actually done on the figures? I'm just looking at her last race, and she got an RPR of 105. You go back to Lyric Fantasy, super 2-year-old filly, a Rocket, who won this race. I think the only 2-year-old filly to have done so. She'd already run an RPR of 120. She was winning races by like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lengths. She was crushing the opposition position. Lady Iman won quite well at Goodwood last time, but I really don't think it was a superstar performance. I can't have 4-1. Final reason I don't like this because of the draw. She's very low. That may change today, as per previous, but she's in stall 4, I believe. Just feels a little bit on the low side. I think I prefer to be middle on the high on the basis of what we saw yesterday. I certainly don't want to be on the very far rail. Anyway, can win. Won't have my money. Arizona Blaze, Adrian Murray. I like this one more, but I'm only neutral because the price is short. It's 6-1 in a horse in a field where this sprint division, you can throw a blanket over them in terms of form figures. No one stands head and shoulders. So even though good winner Sapphire Stakes at the Curragh last time out, good consistent form figures this season. Won the last 6 races, 1, 3, 1, 6, 2, 1 for a sprinter. That's damn consistent. Like this guy, I'm only neutral though. 6-1 feels to me short enough. He was our pick for the, as anti-poster followers remember, he's our pick for the having a brain fade moment was the Commonwealth Cup. Yeah, I think so. Anyway, he went down by a nose in that at a decent price, but he was 16-1 that day, 6-1 here. I'll reluctantly pass, but he's dangerous. Asphora has been a horse I've been completely against in her 2 runs this season. She went off 4-1 second favourite for both the King's Stand and the King George at Goodwood. She'd had a different preparation, didn't like her Asker at 4-1, and she didn't disgrace herself, but she didn't run that well. And then at Goodwood, the trainer having arrogantly stated that he'd be disappointed if she didn't win, but she was only 85% fit, as people recall from previous podcasts. That's made my blood boil as a comment. Incredibly arrogant, though in fact I thought she ran very well. She was 4th. The rain came for this one, and they didn't want that, and she might well have won that and made me look a bit silly. So she's now out to sort of 13-2 territory. Wouldn't be an each way interest. But I wouldn't blame anyone for having a win bet on us for her. She's now got the ground she wants. She was 4th, beaten only a length and a half the Nunthorpe last year. All the 3 above her have been retired, but more to the point, she was drawn quite high there. I don't think it was a particularly good draw. So I can really see her being a contender in this, perfectly viable win candidate. She's bordering on an attractive price for me at 13-2. She is classy in a sprint division that isn't terribly classy. Sayed Darian, drawn very low, worries me. The other thing that worries me is the value's gone. I think she represents the excellent Richard Hughes. Of course, won the July Cup. She won very well over course of distance last time out, albeit this is a whole different ballgame. Progressive filly, that you never know where they're going to stop. So I get all of that, but she was flagged up by a couple of people shortly after she last raced, and or even before. I think it's the likes of Keith Melrose betting against the Racing Post put her up in a column. Was it 25s or 33s? Then she became 16s, then 10s, and now you're 15-2. For me, that's just too short, particularly the low draw. So I don't like Sayeda Darian, though it's a sprint, and of course she can win this progressive filly, but no, not at that price for me. Now we're on to one I do like. She's quality. Nice sort of draws of 9-10 of 17, so middle on the high side. Unlikely to be disadvantaged by that. Now, as a winner, you might say, well, hang on, her figures are 2-2-2-2, which is true. But for a sprinter, that's, again, like I was saying about Arizona Roots, that's super consistent. And she's been second to some good ones. Rumstar on a going day, he was a very good horse. We'll talk about him in a minute. Magira, who we'll talk about in a minute, is also a very, very good filly. So last time, second in the King George at Goodwood. I think the rain would not have helped her that day. She's back on a fast track now. Trainers' view is she's just made for this course. Maybe that's trainer speak, but I do get it. I would have thought this is one of the better each-way plays at the time of recording. 10-1 Hills, 4 places. I haven't got a win me. Check Sky, 5 places. If they're 9s, that's a better deal. If it's 8s, I'm not so sure. But she's quality. I'd be pretty surprised and disappointed if she didn't run very well. Whether or not she wins in this 17-horse sprint, who knows? But yeah, no 10s. She's quality, attractive. Magira, 12-1. I think that's also attractive. I think she's a big price because she didn't win in Ireland last time. She's been by Arizona Blaze. But after having acting up in the stalls at Ascot, having been withdrawn and fancied by a lot of people for the King's Stand, she had been away from the racecourse quite a long time. She does break slowly, and that's a sort of a repeat theme with this filly. And I think of the various sprint courses, you don't want to break slowly. The Namesmire is over 5 is definitely one of those. But yeah, she's close to top rated in these. I think she still has upside. Won the Temple Stakes well earlier this season. I think she's got a big shout. Again, with her slow starts, I don't think I'd play this one each way. But I've got a better know myself to win. I think 12s is reasonable. JM Jungle, handicapper who's improved hand over fist and won the King George at Goodwood last time out. Can he keep progressing? I mean, he's run no bad races this season. I'm just slightly on the doubter scale. Maybe that ground and that Goodwood configuration was right up his alley. Mate, last time run at York, he's beaten by Washington Heights, who we'll talk about in a minute. And I'd rather take Washington Heights at a bigger price than this guy, for example. Washington Heights seems an interesting horse, but it wouldn't be first on my list. So reluctantly, I'm a no for JM Jungle. But yeah, what a story of improvement. Credit to the trainer. Night Raider. Oh dear, this one makes me want to go into a dark room. Look, if the definition of madness is doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same results, then this is someone who's driven many people and many good judges to the asylum. He's never been beaten on the all-weather. 4 wins, I think, for some of those blowout wins. He's looking fantastic. But in 5 or is it 6 races on the turf, he's never won one. And he's only come close, vaguely close once. So they keep trying. So why should we give him another go? I think the answer is why some people will. And I'm agonizing. And if he's a good double prigger price on Betfair, maybe I'll have to have a few pennies as a saver. It was the way he won his group side in the King George at Goodwood, showing all his usual trademark turn of foot. That wasn't the side to be. Ground probably not he wanted. He now suddenly has a rapid front running favouring 5 furlongs on fast ground. This is what he wants. Not Ascot, the steep uphill finish. This is what this guy wants. And if you were to give him, if you were to fulfill that definition of madness and give him yet another go, this is the time to do so. I think for the last and final time, if he can't get it done today and disappoints, then he can be chucked out forever as a turf horse. But there is a case I see for giving this guy one more chance, despite never having one on turf. Night Raider. Colbert, good, exciting, loads of pace. Will surely lead this race, and who knows, maybe he can hang on. Neutral, though, it does scare me. Though I'm technically neutral on him, I'm probably not. I'm probably thinking, do you know what, this guy could do? Rumstar, interesting sprinter in that kind of horse I often like, in that he's in and out. And in and out horses are great in a way for the punter, because if they have a couple of outs, then you get a nice price when they come back in and you're on at a good price. So that's good. Last 5 figures are 1, 6, 14, 1, 5. 2 good ones. The Palace House, I believe, at Newmarket, was there that day on Guinea's Day. And Sandown, 2 back. I can't remember the name of the race, but yeah, famous sprint at Sandown. it's something about the fact that those were the two tracks involved. They're uphill finishes. I wonder whether a flat track he's going to do it again. Quite possible. Good talented sprinter who Jonathan Portman has done a great job with. I can see it. I'm not going to bet him. I'm neutral on this one. 12-1 is so. He's in this big sprint field. He's won with many, one of many in with a squeak. But no, reluctantly I pass on him. Spicy Marg is the other 2-year-old. And I said what I said about 2-year-olds and the weight breaks, so I don't have to repeat that. But there's something about this one that interests me more than Lady Iman. Well, mainly at 14-1, she's 3.5 times the price. Then the other small factor is that she actually won on the same day as Lady Iman at Goodwood, running a slightly faster figure. For faster time. Now, the ground might have been drying slightly, offsets that, but if a 2-year-old is going to do it, I think I'd probably rather be on Spicy Mark. I won't back. Form figures are 1, 5, 10, 1, 10th of the Queen Mary, but back on track last time. But yeah, of the 2-year-olds, she's the one I like more. Washington Heights. First thing to say about this horse is he draws 17 of 17. So if you're watching today, day 2, and there's one of the draw biases becomes apparent that it's back, unlike day 1, then it's back to you want to be drawn low to middle. You want to be a bit careful of this guy. If it's not, and horses are still doing well from high draws, then this is something I think the horse you want to look at. The form of his win where he won at York last time out looks really, really good. Miss Attitude, who I thought was going to be supplemented for this, the other filly won a listed race, and I mean a bit of a brain fade moment about who the other horse he beat in that road, but they've gone and run very well too since. He's always been knocking at the door, Washington Heights, and this is probably his course. 80-1, I think he's overpriced. I think he's a decent each way bet, unless a high draw turns out to be negative at day 2 today. Washington Heights dangerous. Frost at Dawn also dangerous. 20-1. That's just too big. Frost at Dawn didn't second in the King's Stand, or King Charles, whatever it's called, at Ascot now, to American Affairs. Absolutely cracking performance. And she was beaten at Goodwood. I think it was only fourth or 5th in the King George at Goodwood. But that was on softer ground. That went against her. This is a fast ground filly who's become consistent. She won a brilliant race at Maidan some 18 months ago and then flopped the next couple of times. But she's now back on track and, finishing first or second coming in the last 4 or 5 races. I don't know why she's 20-1. It's too big. Except... this is annoying. Yesterday suggested very low was not the place to be. I think she's in 3 from memory. Hang on, I'm just going to check that because I don't want to be giving you duff information. Sort by draw. Oh no, she's not. She's in 6. Okay, maybe I'm not so worried about that. 6 is better. Yeah, Sayed and Darian is of those in the market in 2, so it's got the really low draw, and Lady Iman in 4. Frost at draw, maybe 6 is fine. Yeah, dangerous. I don't know why she's 20-1. She was 21 with Sky when they priced up yesterday when they were 5 places. So I was straight on that. 5 places, 20-1. I think that appeals to me as a great bet, even if this is a sprint, and there could be an argument that there's no such thing as a great bet in a sprint, unless you happen to roll the dice correctly, as they come up with so many different long price winners winning. But if there's a long price winner winning this one, Frost at Dawn would be one of the first I'd expect to be doing it. Then we're out bigger prices. Celandine, our followers on X will notice we tweeted 66s look large for this one. I did think that was a good price. She's now half that. She's drawn very high next to Washington Heights. She'll bring pace from that side. Both these two go forward. So I think there is pace. I think there's pace in sort of low to middle around. Night Raiders is let's just check. Yeah, Night Raiders right in the middle. So next to Arizona Below. So there's pace in 8 and 9, pace up in 16, 17. Another reason possibly not to be drawn very low. But Celandine, she's won the Lauer over this course, and the stable were thinking of putting her in the July Cup as for her first run back, which is well, she didn't. They didn't because she wouldn't have won that, but she ran pretty well on her return. Third to Sayeda Darien in the Summer Stakes here. Again in 6, and then she went to Chester over 6, and the heavy favourite didn't quite get up on that rather sort of idiosyncratic course. Worth a go at 5. She's got bags of boot. Having mentioned her 66 is, I'm not going there again at 33s, which I'm neutral. Ain't No Body, 66 to 1. Has one or two bits of form that makes you feel he's got a big one in him. But this horse has been regressive this season. It was a close third to Big Mojo earlier in the season, but then he's just got worse with every run since. So I can't get to him, even though I like to find a way of getting into a sprinter at 66 to 1. Kurdos, who I can't find a price for on my notes. Yes, also 66 to 1. 3 races ago, you told me you get 66 to 1. Kurdos, I mean, cycling down to my local bookmakers with every power I could put into the pedal. But this horse is so frustrating, and he keeps on disappointing. It seems a long time since he was such a good winner of a race. I think at Haydock. Yeah, when he beat the likes of Asfour and Living the Dream, and you thought, hang on, this is a potentially top sprinter emerging. He hasn't emerged. Now, this is a sprint, and sprinters can sometimes have their day. So 66 to 1, that is big, but he has become brutally disappointing. So if you do back him, and I think there are worse horses than to back than this one at 66 to 1, be prepared to the high likelihood of throwing your slip in the bin. But that's in the price, isn't it? 66s. Spartan Arrow can't get to an 80s. I mean, other than it's Archie Watson who won this last year with Bradsell. But no, just on the basis of every bit of form he's got on his book, he can't win this race. Watch him now. Nick be the next shot winner of the next big sprint. And finally, Manakan. I've got a bit of time for Manakan, who was a really good horse 3 years ago, and then he was injured. He was off for the best part. I think he had one run in 2.5 years or something like that. And he's come back, and he hasn't done it yet. He hasn't disgraced himself. Can he get back to it? Can he get back to that form of 2 years ago, when again he was looking like he was emerging as a great sprinter? Very unlikely, but he's a 3-figure price, and yeah, who knows? Now, it wouldn't be a recommendation, but a definite case of who knows. Okay, all of which brings us to the end. In summary of that Nunthorpe, there are many ways you could go here because there are many potential winners of this. Watch the draw. If it's fair, then you needn't be put off the likes of Washington Heights and Celandine, if you like them at draw 16, 17. But the solid each way. She's quality. I can't see why this one won't turn up again, and I'd be surprised if she didn't get a piece of it. Frost at Dawn, way too big at 20s. Others that appeal: Washington Heights 18s, Magira at 12s, possibly S4 as a win price. Those are the horses that I think are the most value at the prices. And go on, let's just paint this egg on my face in advance. Lady Iman 4 to 1 with an 105 RPR last time out. No. Okay, that's it for today. I hope to be back for Saturday, possibly actually later today, for the City of York. And not sure if we'll look at the Ebor. But anyway, good luck today. Watch those draw biases, and be lucky.